Former NOPD officer and mayoral bodyguard Jeffrey Vappie pleads not guilty during his first appearance before a federal judge today.
And Vappie was indicted last month following Fox 8's Outside the Office series. David Jones joins us with the story.
Vappie was indicted by a grand jury on 8 counts in total, 7 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of lying to federal investigators. Today, the government filed a motion to block Vappie from communicating with any potential witnesses, which we learned includes Mayor LaToya Cantrell.
Mr. Vappie is anxious to clear his name. He's anxious to prove his innocence.
Walking into federal court, flanked by his attorneys, Harry Rosenberg and Sean Clark, retired NOPD officer Jeffrey Vappie remains silent ahead of his arraignments.
Officer Vappie now has to face this court proceeding, which he is prepared to do, and Sean Clark and I will be with him at every step of the way.
Lee Zurich's Outside the Office investigation called prosecutors' attention to hours Vappie was spending on and off the clock with Mayor LaToya Cantrell. In total, $7,500 in pay is called into question.
It's not now, it's not going to be today or in this location, but he will respond to those accusations.
The 17-page indictment lays out federal prosecutors' case, saying Vappie was part of a scheme to cover up an alleged relationship with Cantrell, a relationship which returned to the spotlight during Wednesday's arraignment, when Vappie's team argued against a motion by the government calling on the court to order Vappie not to contact any potential witnesses in the case. Arguing in court, Sean Clark told the judge, quote, "The government is criminalizing a personal friendship with LaToya Cantrell. Cantrell is his friend. He's going through the greatest ordeal of his life right now, and he would like to speak with her. I don't believe she should be on this list." He went on to say, Vappie has not been convicted of any crime, judge, but he has been indicted. Clark, he has a constitutional right, freedom of association. Cantrell is a good friend, and her support is important to him throughout this ordeal. Later, the judge said, quote, "I'm issuing a limited contact order. Mr. Vappie is precluded from having contact with potential witnesses about this case. Defense can address at a later date." Clark responded by asking, quote, "So he is not precluded from contacting her generally?" The judge answered, "Yes, but he cannot talk about this case." Clark retorted, he understands he's not supposed to talk about this case, but what if they're reminiscing, saying something like, "Remember that time we had lunch on this patio? Would that be about this case?" The judge said, "Yes, I'm trying to help you here. I can impose no contact at all. Do you want to take what you can get?" This is a case where a grand jury issued an indictment where the government alleged Mr. Vappie was dishonest with federal investigators.
He's been indicted for lying to the FBI. So she can always modify it going forward, but today was an interesting ruling, and I think a win for the defense.
The bigger takeaway, Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Responti says, is what was said about the nature of this relationship between the mayor and her now retired bodyguard.
The representations made in court today that he would rely on her for moral and emotional support, so to speak, kind of undermines his previous representations that we had a strictly professional relationship. And that's what he represented, I think, to the FBI, and that got him in trouble. This seems to back up the government's position.
The judge gave both sides time to submit written arguments for or against the no contact order and to revisit the issue at a later date. Trial is scheduled to start the second week of October, but Responti was adamant the trial will be pushed back. Lee.